Hello, welcome to our assembly for today. I hope you're all okay. I hope you're all having a lovely day, and I hope you're enjoying the sunshine. Our theme for assembly today is to do with learning and learning all of our lives. Now, I know we come to school, and when you come to school, you sit in your maths lesson or you sit in your English lesson, and you have to learn because your teacher tells you to. But I think you've probably been learning longer than you realise. So have a think and put your hand up if you've got something that you can do now that you couldn't do before you came to school. So you might be 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 or 11 years old. Think of something that you couldn't do when you first came to school, when you were 3 or 4 years old. Share those ideas. Okay. There's probably lots of things. Now think of something that you couldn't do before you started in the class that you're in now. So if you are in Hedgehog's class, something that you couldn't do until you got into Hedgehog's class and you learned to do it while you were in Hedgehog's class. Okay. So we've learned things even over the course of the year. Now think of something that you couldn't do at the start of the week and that you're able to do now. What have you thought? What have you got? So I think there's things that you've been able to do. And I reckon you could probably even answer that question if I said, think of something that you couldn't do before you came into school this morning, something that you have learned to do today. So we're learning all our lives. I shared in an assembly video recently. I recorded an assembly video from my garden. And you might remember I told you about the blackbirds that were nesting in my garden. And I have learned, I'm 48 years old, I'm still learning. I learned loads by watching the blackbirds going to and from the nest. And I showed you the video, I showed you the blackbirds going to and from the nest. And I actually learned the other day by kind of being aware of what was going on and being aware of what was around me. When I came home from work on Friday, I saw this fella sitting in the garden. This is a baby blackbird. Now, he hadn't learned yet. I think that, well, on Thursday, there were no baby blackbirds in my garden. So on Friday, there were, and they left the nest. That's called fledging. So that is a fledgling blackbird. And they leave the nest, and then they're still very young. They're still just learning. And I took that photo. I was about a meter away from him, and he just sat there and stared at me. And I couldn't have done it with an adult bird because he hadn't learned yet that humans might be dangerous to him. Now, obviously, I'm not dangerous, but he didn't realize, or she didn't realize. I don't know whether that's a male or female, but they didn't realize that I could be dangerous. So he just sat there and stared. And for the rest of the evening, I sat in my garden and I watched these blackbirds just potter around, and they were still being fed by their parents. So the male and female blackbirds were still bringing food back. The babies, there were 2 of them that I could see, were just sitting at different points in the garden, opening their beaks really wide. And you can see here, that's a really wide beak. When it opens, it's called a gape. And the parents would come and put worms in their mouths, and they just sat there. And I woke up the next morning thinking, right, I'm going to go and see the birds. I'm going to learn all about them. I'm going to learn about their behavior. And they're gone. They'd just flown off. So I was interested, and I carried on learning, and I researched. I searched online about blackbird behavior because it was something that I was interested in, and it made me feel good. So we've got that quality education global goal, but we've also got good health and well-being because I was able to watch them. It made me feel good, and I was able to learn by watching them about their behavior. I could learn from the photo. I didn't know about these tufts from their feathers. It was completely new to me, and their behavior was completely new to me. So I learned by watching. But like I say, they'd flown off on Saturday. So this was Friday. They'd flown off on Saturday, And on Saturday, there was a different group of birds that had moved in. So the birds that are on the bird feeder here are starlings. So this is the adult starling, and these are the baby starlings. And there were 3 baby starlings all in all. Now, I'll show you the video. Starling. You can hear the interesting is the first time I saw it was on its own happily. There you go, there's all the babies now, adults. So one of the babies was feeding. His parent turned up, it stopped and just opened its mouth wide to say, feed me, I'm being lazy, you do it for me. I wonder if anybody else has ever done that. It's not like being fed by the parents, but relied on someone else to do something for them. And those starlings were in my garden all weekend. I didn't see them on Monday night when I came home, but I'm working from home right now as I record this, and there have been some in my garden, but very sadly, there was a big squawk this morning, about half an hour ago, and I saw a cat with one of those baby starlings in its mouth. And the cat ran off to go and eat the bird, unfortunately. That happens. So that the starlings will get eaten in that way. Now, I've learned lots. So at 48 years old, I'm still learning. And it's really interesting to keep learning because you get interested that way. I'm going to share a book with you. I'm not going to share all of it. I can't because there's so much of it. But I'm going to give you an idea of the sort of thing that is just really interesting. And I love really interesting facts. One interesting fact today, 366 interesting facts from around the world to read with your family. It's a really cool book because, as it says, there's a fact today. So you can just pick a random day and there is something interesting to learn. So if I pick, here we go, the 19th of March, we've got a fact about the Tasmanian devil. It's not a devil, but it's a big eater. In just half an hour, this animal is capable of eating as much as half of its own weight. Imagine food that took up at the same weight as half of you, and it could eat it in half an hour. That's incredible. What's today's date? Let's look for the what is today's date? It's the 21st of May. Let's find the 21st of May and see what the fact is for the 21st of May, shall we? April. Here we go, we're nearly there. 21st of May. Despite what everyone believes, the first croissant wasn't French. It was actually Austrian. And the first croissant was created 190 years ago. Wow. There you go. Croissants were originally invented 190 years ago in Austria, not France. I didn't know that. It's interesting. Right. Let's see if we can go for random day. And we've got the 5th of August. Cheetahs can boast about being the fastest animal in the world, but only on land. They can outrun a car on a motorway at a speed of 120 kilometers per hour. So cars travel at 70 miles an hour, 120 kilometers, but a cheetah can run faster. And the 6th of August, the peregrine falcon is not only the fastest animal in the sky, but also in the whole world. This bird can fly as fast as a high-speed train at 300 kilometers per hour. Now, there are peregrine falcons that live near here, actually. They live on the cliffs. If you've been to Beeston Castle is up on a very high bit of rock, and on the cliffs at the side, you can see the peregrine falcons if you're really lucky. And I was one day, because it's one of my favorite cycle routes. So I was cycling towards the castle, stopped to have a bit of a break and to look at the castle, take a photo. And I watched a bird from the cliff, and it just dropped. So they nest high up, and one of the ways they get to this speed is by dropping, and then they tuck their wings in behind them, and they just fall, and that's how they start to get up to that speed, because they nest really, really high up. So I was really, really lucky to see that. But if you go to Beeston Castle, you might see those birds on the cliffs. Right, let's find one more interesting fact. Oh, I'll tell you what, let's find Christmas Day. What's the fact for Christmas Day? Christmas is incredibly magical. Just tell Father Christmas he's able to give gifts to all the children in the world, and there are more than 2 billion of them. He alone manages to make 842 million visits in a single night. So more than 2 billion children. That's incredible. So this book, I'm just going to go back to the front cover just to share it with you, is pretty cool. One interesting fact today. I love that. And I really love those interesting facts that make you sit there and go, oh, didn't know that. So see if you can find something where you look at it and go, I didn't know that. It might be something that you see outside in nature. It might be something that you read. It might be something that you see on TV. It might be something that really makes you think when you're in class. Okay. And then the best thing that you can do when you've learned that, share it with someone else. Share it with someone else so that they, hey, do you know what? This is what I found out today. Isn't it cool? Have a lovely rest of the day, guys. Bye.